Alright, so here we have the white-black control deck. Very similar to the list that I ran in New York at the Grand Prix there. And the mana base has not changed at all. We've got 8 colorless sources, 4 K's of Koilos, 1 Blighted Fen, and then 3 copies of Westvale Abbey. The colorless sources are important once you get to the sideboard, but Westvale Abbey, it's important to note the synergy with Secure the Waste. Without Secure, Westvale Abbey isn't really that great in our deck. It's still a win condition, just churning out 1/1s, but you normally can't make Ormondal without a Secure. So that's a pretty important synergy to be aware of. We've also got 4 copies of Shambling Vent. Shambling Vent is the best manland in Standard. And here it's especially good because the lifelink is very relevant. We're losing a lot of life from some of our other cards, so having a way to gain that back is really nice. And we are playing the full 8 tap lands. We just want to have good mana. That's basically the reason why, and I wouldn't change that. We're playing 25 lands total. We do have 2 cantrips, essentially, in the Hallowed Moonlights, which can help find us lands early. And this card is just good right now. There's a lot of Collected Company decks running around. Hallowed Moonlight shuts that down. It shuts down various token synergies. So I'm pretty happy with including this card in the main deck, even though a lot of the other more original lists did not have this card in the main deck. It was in the sideboard. And we just want ways to interact with our opponent's big cards. So Hallowed Moonlight does that. So does Transgress the Mind. I've gone up to 3 copies here. It just deals with opposing planeswalkers and just big cards. We want to know what's in our opponent's hands so we know how to sequence our removal. And just having perfect information is nice. Being able to exile cards is nice. And this is the best discard spell in terms of main deck options in the format right now. So there's 3 of those. And then we've got 5 2-mana removal spells. 3 Grasp, 2 Price, 1 more Price in the board. A lot of times you will need to play one of these on turn 2 against the more aggressive decks. So you always want to draw 1 early. We've got 4 card draw spells here in the Read the Bones. Read the Bones has been pretty impressive. Being able to scry 2 is extremely important, and just having a card draw spell in this deck when you're trading so many cards 1 for 1 makes a pretty big difference. We're also playing 5 answers to Planeswalkers in terms of 3-mana removal. 2 Ruinous Path, which is straightforward. You can kill a Planeswalker or creature, and then the Awaken later in the game is sort of a win condition in and of itself. And then we've got Anguish Unmaking, which can deal with Planeswalkers. It can deal with annoying creatures like Dragonlord Slumgar. It can deal with artifacts, enchantments, whatever you want. Just having a removal spell that doesn't have very many conditions is really good. It's also an instant. The 3 life, though, is definitely relevant. Sometimes you will board 1 or 2 out against the more aggressive decks, but sometimes you just need a way to kill anything your opponent could possibly play, and Anguished Unmaking essentially is that. And we've got, moving on to some of our win conditions here, we've got 4 copies of Gideon Ally of Zendikar. I like just playing the full 4 Gideons. Drawing 2 is actually fine. Sometimes your opponent kills the first one, or you make an emblem with one, and you want the second one. And if you're on the play with a Gideon, we all know how those games normally end up. So Gideon's one of the most powerful cards in Standard, and I think we just want 4 copies. We also want 4 copies of Languish. We're not playing any actual creature spells in the main deck, so it makes sense to have a bunch of sweepers for opposing creatures, and that's what Languish is. We've also got one Planner Outburst to just further our mass removal. And we've got some more Planeswalkers here in Obnixilis and Sorin. Both of these cards can close the game out. They can deal with Reality Smasher nicely without you having to discard a card. Sorin is another answer to Planeswalkers and another way to gain life. So once you get Sorin onto the table, things are normally looking in pretty good shape unless you're dying immediately. And then the 3 copies of Secure the Waste. Secure the Waste is normally going to be cast later in the game as a big mana spell. You don't really want to use it as like a 3 mana Raise the Alarm type effect if you can avoid it. And we can make emblems with Gideon and make these into 2/2s. The card just wins the game by itself sometimes. So let's take a look at our sideboard here. We've got 2 copies of Deadweight, which is good against the super aggressive White Humans decks. It's also decent against the Nantuko House decks as a way to kill that card, interestingly enough. Duress comes in basically against all the control decks, and you'll board it in against green-white tokens as well. We've got 1 copy of Bearer of Silence. Some people have given me some flack for playing this card. It's pretty good if you play against any type of Dragonlord, Ojutai deck, or any deck that doesn't play that many creatures. It's not main deckable because it is bad against stuff like Rights, but it's been pretty good when it's good. So that's why there's 1 copy on the board. The 4 Transgress the Mind, and another ultimate price. Then we've got 2 copies of Displacer. Displacer comes in against green-white token stacks. Decks with Hangerback Walker, it's very good against. Or just a way, like against ramps, sometimes you just want a 3-mana creature. A way to pressure your opponent after board. And that's what this is. We've got some 4-drops here. 3 copies of Kalitas comes in against most of the creature decks. The way that works out is sometimes your opponent's boarding out their creature removal, you're boarding in your Kalitas's, and Kalitas just wins the game by itself a lot of times. So your opponent really needs removal for that card, or else they're going to lose. There's so many decks that rely on sacrificing creatures or having creatures go to their graveyard that cutting that off is just huge. And we've got so much removal. Kalitas is just the perfect card to have after sideboard. And then we've got 2 Thought-Knot Seers, which come in more on the play, but just another form of hand disruption in the slower matchups, or if you want more ways to pressure your opponent and you're boarding out Languishes, you can bring in the Thought-Knots. And then I added this 1 copy of Linvala. It's pretty good against the company decks. It's just another 6-drop. A lot of times you will be able to enable both modes, making a 3/3 and gaining 5. And at that point, the card is pretty powerful. It's a win condition. And you do already have 2 Sorins, so be careful about adding additional 6-drops. But I think 1 copy is fine. Been pretty happy with it so far. So this is the current list, and I think it's really well positioned right now. So I would definitely recommend it.